So I'm late to the party. I'm late to the Avatar watch party, and I'm late to the Avatar is one of the best shows, not kid shows, shows party. Everyone loves the show. I'm focusing this video on Avatar's comedy. There's plenty of wacky anime-style visual gags, great one-liners, and this unlucky cabbage salesman.
Oh, my cabbages!
Avatar is so consistently goofy that calling these moments comedic relief feels wrong. But since the show addresses topics such as genocide, state propaganda, dance parties, and sexism, I think it's fair. These topics can be pretty difficult to joke about. Have you heard any good genocide jokes recently? Hopefully not. Avatar includes jokes around these subjects, but never directly about them. With one exception, Avatar repeatedly jokes about gender roles. This is most prevalent with the character of Toff.
My name's Toff, because it sounds like tough.
Okay, that's not really Toff. Before we take on Toff, I'll clarify what I mean by this. Gender roles are defined as
the role or behavior learned by a person as appropriate to their gender.
Which, I thought you weren't supposed to use the words in the definition. Gender roles is one of those terms that requires, 50 other words to understand. Basically, it boils down to expectations of masculinity or femininity. Back to Toff. While our protagonist looks for an earthbending master that can teach him to do cool stuff like this, or that. The crew hits up a WWE-style fight ring. There we see the up-and-comer, the Boulder, defeat huge buff guy after huge buff guy until he takes on the defending champion. Who's it gonna be? How big will this guy's muscles be? And here they are.
Your champion, the Blind Bandit!
Yep. They're a tiny girl. Okay, so the match is set. In one corner, we've got the Boulder, who is literally modeled after WWE star The Rock.
Oh my God! I got it! It's The Rock! The Boulder knows how to put the hurt in the dirt! Yeah! Woo!
In the other corner, we've got the 12-year-old, 2 feet tall, approximately, Blind Bandit. The match is set. And y'all know where this is going. Toff then becomes the group's resident earthbending badass. Her badassery and hilariosity both originate from the fact that she gives no fucks. She ain't your neighborhood primed proper blind girl. She does this and this and that. That's actually pretty impressive. Look at that pigpen dust cloud behind her. Doe's Pitstow! Toff's comedic relief aligns with her subversion of gender roles, and her character was literally created with that intent. Toff was intended to be a muscular 16-year-old male. Her character was supposed to look more like this guy, or the Boulder, but the head writer insisted on a character redesign. Eventually, the creators got on board when they imagined the humorous scene of a 12-year-old girl beating up on big wrestler-type guys. In every way Toff rejects traditional femininity, Avatar's most consistent comedic relief character projects traditional masculinity. Early Saka thinks he's the man. He's not. Based on his infatuation with the Boulder, I think his fighting name would be the Show. Early Saka is a poster child for toxic masculinity. This may seem like a confusing term, but it's really just a blanket term for potential negative effects from masculinity. And early Sokka's sexist remarks definitely fall under that blanket.
Leave it to a girl to screw things up.
You need to give girls space when they do their sewing. Girls are better at fixing pants than guys, and guys are better at hunting and fighting and stuff like that. It's just the natural order of things.
All done with your pants? And look what a great job I did.
His opinions on masculinity aren't that subtle either.
Without courage, how can we call ourselves men?
I gotta pee.
Being a man means
No potty breaks!
But I really gotta go.
In Avatar's pilot, Sokka acts like an ass, a flying bison sneezes on him, and this happens. You may have noticed a common theme with all these jokes. Sokka gets dunked on. Early Sokka's comedic relief doesn't come from him being particularly funny, he's the joke. But even when reasons for early Sokka's hypermasculinity are explained later in the show, they are never intended to excuse his behavior. I keep on repeating early Sokka because Sokka's character and comedy undergo a noticeable shift throughout the show. In Kyoshi Warriors, the crew gets captured by a group of all-female warriors. Sokka tells them
I'm the best warrior in my village.
he's the only warrior in his
Village.
and he attempts to fight, but he's the butt of the joke, again and again. And he repeatedly refers to the Kyoshi warriors as
There's no way a bunch of girls took us down.
A bunch of girls, huh?
Beat up by a bunch of girls.
Seeing as you guys are a bunch of girls, I'll make an exception.
to my fellow grammaticians out there, groups of girls, in fact, do not come in bunches. Everything in this episode reinforces Sokka as the arrogant buffoon he's been up to this point in the series. Up until
I was wrong.
he actually apologizes and asks Suki to teach him her skills. While learning, Sokka has to abandon his dreams of buff dudes beating on each other, and instead embrace the customs of the Kyoshi warriors.
Do I really have to wear this? It feels a little girly.
Hey, Sokka. Nice dress.
Even though Aang pokes fun at him, the joke never becomes, Sokka's wearing a dress. This marks a transition for Sokka's character. He's no longer the butt of the joke, but his insecurities are, and these insecurities last far longer than his sexist remarks. Sokka had always pictured himself as a powerful fighter with
Bravery and honor.
But after interacting with some OP women, the Kyoshi warriors, his sister following her ascension as a powerful waterbender, and eventually Toff, and after traveling with literally the most powerful person in his universe, Sokka has to adapt his self-image. And let's just say there are some growing pains.
I'm sorry. I didn't count you. You know, no bending and all.
I can still fight!
Okay. 3 on 3 plus Sokka.
Jokes come at the expense of Sokka's insecurities about leadership, fighting abilities, and girls. Although he shouldn't have any insecurities there, Sokka slays. These moments made Sokka far more likable because I can relate to these insecurities. This isn't the final stage of Sokka's comedy either. Later in the show, in Sokka's Master, the episode begins with the group collectively putting out a fire. Minus Sokka, of course, because he can't bend.
What should I do?
Keep an eye on Momo.
Sokka feels unimportant and a bit depressed, but instead of putting on a facade and acting brave, Sokka is honest about his feelings. This episode is actually pretty sad, which goes to show the emotional breadth of the show. The crew all support Sokka and convince him to seek out a master swordsman so he can contribute. But the thing is, Sokka isn't a particularly good swordsman, but he is extremely creative and goofy. He compares his sword to an extra head, he covers his face in ink as a signature, and he uses clever tactics rather than brute force to fight. By the end of the inevitable training montage, Sokka isn't a master fighter, but he's recognized for the value he provides.
It wasn't your skills that impressed me. No, it certainly wasn't your skills.
In the same episode, the group flounders without Sokka's levity. This is highlighted by many jokes that are only funny because of how not funny they are.
I mean, look at Katara's hair, right? What's up with that? What? What's wrong with my hair?
It's so hot. Momo is shedding like Appa. Huh? Huh?
I guess the jokes don't run in the family.
They welcome him back from training with open arms.
Say something funny.
Funny how?
Silly Sokka, providing value by making dumb jokes and speaking expressively. This episode highlights the transition to funny, confident Sokka. This Sokka is willing to poke fun at himself, and he embraces his role as the guy that makes people laugh.
Who are you, anyway? I'm just a guy who likes comedy.
I love how this transition follows Sokka's rejection of toxic masculinity. He's vulnerable with his emotions, admits his inadequacies, and comes to understand that he can be important without playing the caricature of the stone. He puts the groans in your bones. He loves himself for being goofy Sokka. These 3 stages of Sokka's comedy blend together. Sokka was always goofy, and his learning swordsmanship was in no way the singular silver bullet that destroyed all of his insecurities forever. And the show balances its portrayals of gender roles. Toff rejects traditional femininity.
I already picked my toes. Twice. Twice? The first time's for cleaning, but the second time's just for the sweet picking sensation.
And that's fine. Sokka comes to terms with the nuanced masculinity.
I know something that's gonna make you feel better.
You do?
Shopping!
And that's fine. Katara can be a badass fighter who also mothers people, and that's fine. And Aang can be a pacifist monk who has the fighting abilities of a one-man death machine. Allowing characters to have complex, sometimes contradictory self-identities and inner turmoil makes Avatar one of the most impressive television shows, not kids shows, ever. And the fact that they can do that while remaining hilariously goofy, that rocks. The Rock. Zzz. Please hit subscribe, because I asked you politely. Comment if you have anything you feel like saying. Catch me soon. This has been Lucky Later, and I'm signing out.